right.
Spotlight.
All right, well, it's 4 o'clock and we're going to go ahead and get started if that's okay. Welcome everyone who's joined us today. It looks like we have about 23 folks joining us, and we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Superintendent Diane Hassett and let you go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome us. Welcome to Pets in Recovery.
Thank you for having us. Good afternoon. Welcome to our presentation of the rescue program, Saving Detainees and Dogs One Life at a Time. Anyone that owns an animal knows how therapeutic and non-judgmental they are, in addition to the giving unconditional love. That is why the dogs are the catalyst of the rescue program. A quote comes to mind from Anatole France: "Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened." This individual graduated from the rescue program, and on the day of his release, he adopted his dog, Darla. My name is Diane Hassett. I'm the superintendent at Colwell Probation Detention Center with the Georgia Department of Corrections. We are located approximately 2.5 hours northeast of Atlanta in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We are a short-term sentencing facility that houses probation and parole violators. The sentencing cap on our facility is 180 days. However, the majority of our sentences are 60 to 120, 90 to 120, 120, 180, which is a great behavior management tool. Every agency and department has the mission and vision statement. The Georgia Department of Corrections is no different. The rescue program's mission statement is to rescue and rehabilitate dogs who would otherwise be euthanized while providing a positive impact on our offenders. And our vision statement is very simple: saving detainees and dogs one life at a time. The rescue program began as an idea, a dream, a vision in October of 2011 with Tri-State Pet Rescue. It involved giving detainees and dogs a second chance in life. It took approximately 8 months to convince our department of how serious and committed we were to making this program a reality. Well, in June of 2012, we were given the approval to move forward. We identified an original dorm. It was 216 square feet, housing 6 detainees and 4 dogs. It was nowhere near an ideal situation, but it was a start. Next, we established our selection process. Detainees that are interested in the program must submit an application and write an essay on why they want to be part of the program and what they believe they will gain from the program. Once we receive them, we move to their background check. We pull their institutional files and we review their criminal histories. We immediately siphon out anyone with any animal cruelty charges, any sexual crimes of any nature, and any egregious assaultive past. Those that are left move on to our panel interview. The panel interview consists of myself, Officer Carter, Counselor Wiley, and my rescue labradoodle, Dennis the Menace. The questions revolve around what they have written in their essay, as well as 3 questions we particularly ask. 1 is, why should we choose you over another participant? 2, what is your definition of integrity? Because the majority of these individuals don't have a clue. And 3, when was the last time somebody said they were proud of you, and for what? In essence, this is a job interview, and to say they are nervous would be an understatement. Well, on June 28, 2012, we welcomed our first 6 detainees and 4 dogs, Bentley, Cooper, Dolly, and Gunner, into the rescued program. And what a great day that was. And on August 29, 2012, we celebrated their graduation with our ribbon cutting ceremony. And it was an even greater day. As I mentioned before, our original dorm was only 216 square feet. We submitted a proposal within the first year to expand our activity room, which was 1,100 square feet, and we were approved. Today, we can house 12 detainees and 6 to 8 dogs. The rescue program is a win-win for all. 31 groups have completed and graduated the program, thus positively impacting 219 men. Our success rate hovers around 60%. So we are saving the lives of detainees, but we don't stop there. We are also saving the lives of dogs. To date, 190 have been adopted out to their forever homes. We are grateful to our community partners here in Union County, Cast Off Pet Rescue and the Humane Society Mountain Shelter. Without them, this program wouldn't be. Last but never least are our volunteers and our staff. The rescue program is a holistic and volunteer-driven program. It is successful because of the amazing staff and volunteers we have. They are dedicated and committed and passionate about making a difference in the lives of others. We are rescued strong, and we believe that. Teamwork is the greatest superpower of all. It takes all of us working together to make a difference. And with that, in normal times, if you were running a relay, you would use a baton to pass off to the next person. In Dog World, we will pass the bone off to Counselor Neil Wiley, who will go over the courses that are involved with the program.
I now have the phone. Hey guys, I'm Neil Wiley. I'm the counselor for the rescue program detainees here at Colwell PDC, and I'm going to give a brief description of the programs that are required for our detainees. The first is problem solving based on spirituality. I call it igniting a spirit. Many of our detainees have shared problems such as addiction, finding adequate housing, homelessness, anger, anxiety, which can be devastating without any use of any decision-making tools. Simply put, if you ignite someone's spirit, it empowers them to learn new coping skills and improve their lives. Next is Georgia's Best. There's 4 main skills that are targeted during Georgia's Best classes, and they're listed there on the screen as you can see. These 4 skills are important, but especially when they're all used together. Being ready for an interview, being able to stand out positively in the detainee empowerment, being able to stand out in a positive manner gives the detainee empowerment, improved self-esteem, thus improving chances of employment. Upon completion of Georgia's Best, detainees receive an individualized portfolio, a cover letter, a resume, and a certificate of class completion. Next is on-the-job training class. That's the grooming class. Our grooming class is taught by Valerie. She's a master groomer with over 35 years experience. Valerie is very passionate, teaching detainees not only grooming skills, but helping them improve their self-esteem and their confidence. They're taught bathing, grooming, and health care for their 4-legged rescue partners. This class can be used by the detainees to move into dog grooming as a profession. Detainees receive a certificate for 320 hours also from Central Georgia Technical College. Our next class is Basic Animal Health class. Simply put, as canine treatment and prevention, understanding the preventive steps that need to be taken to ensure a canine's health, vaccinations, annual health testing, diet, exercise, basic animal care such as grooming, feeding, cleaning, restraining, placing an animal in a cage, and holding them during an examination. These skills also can be used for experience for employment with a veterinarian after release. Next is Worksource Georgia. Worksource Georgia offers career, education, and training services to help prepare for and obtain work. It's a mobile internet service that comes here to visit our facility. It's a bus RV type vehicle, and it assists with the training and current job openings in the detainees area, enabling them to look for jobs before release. Our next one is money management. How often do you have a banker come to you to help you manage your money? Well, here in the rescue program, we have just that. Adam Bourne from United Community Bank teaches money management, checking and savings account, budgeting funds, loans for cars, building credit, and even the steps to obtaining a loan to buy a home. And our graduates have gone on to use United Community Bank after the graduation. Our next is our addiction advisors. Charlie and Linda Johnston are our addiction advisors. Charlie is a 45-year clean substance abuse counselor. He is excellent and has something called the hot seat, which is a turning experience for many of our rescue detainees here. Charlie's experiences were valuable in recovering from drug and alcohol abuse, and he can talk the talk and has walked the walk. Linda is in recovery from mental abuse and codependency. We're thankful for both of them to be involved in the rescue program. Their efforts enable detainees to understand and manage their addiction. Our next class we'll discuss is Probation Expectations. This service to the rescue detainees is very useful and informative. I'll tell you, it allows them to talk directly with probation officers and not just in the normal probation office setting. It's an open question and answer between the probation officers and the detainees. Many of the questions that are answered are stuff that the detainees will use to improve their ability to successfully complete their probation, because many do have probation once after release here. Next is anger management class. I teach this class. And most of my people from my past would be surprised. In the past, I dealt with anger without knowing why throughout most of my life. After an excellent counselor and recovery from anger, I understood how devastating it can be to oneself, to one's family, friends, and really just anyone around. I share how I've learned to control my anger, overcome my anger, and how the detainees can do the same, and how much life improves once they do so. Next is integrity. I'll tell you, throughout the program, integrity is taught and expected. Integrity is the key to success that leads to recovery and freedom. I cannot express the importance of integrity's use during the program and to use it daily after graduation and release. Integrity will always keep us free of an addiction, prison, while maintaining a happy life. And last, our community outreach. As you can see listed on the screen, our community outreach has many partners. Without community outreach, it would be very difficult for us to assist the rescue detainees. There's a big we in our program, and it takes many working together to fulfill this mission for the rescue program. I will say I'm very proud to be a part of this program. I do see the positive results in the detainees, also in myself. And with that, I'd like to introduce our K-9 trainers, Lisa and Brad Wagner with Cold Nose College. Lisa, Brad.
Everyone, I don't know.
Hey there, I'm not sure that I have control yet. Oh, but I'm about to get control, I think. So there we go. I am now in control. How cool is that?
Kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah,
actually.
it is. And yeah, I'm trying to get the go forward. There we go. Slowly but surely it's loading. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's the rescue program is near and dear to our hearts, certainly, on so many levels, and the biggest which is helping people recover and dogs recover from whatever their past was and get better.
Yeah, so this program and our involvement in it now for almost 9 years really comes from my childhood background, my desire to be involved with something like this. My dad was in the 60s and 70s was a pioneer in prison reform. He was a chief psychologist at maximum security prisons, and I was raised through positive reinforcement. When I started learning dog training and learning theory, I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what my dad did, except he was teaching people. He was working with people. And so that hit my brain. And on the way to a dog training instructor workshop, I drove by a prison. This is March of 2004, and said, maybe no, 2005. Oh my gosh, I really want to do this one day. I really want to be involved with the dog training program in a facility, correctional facility. So, wow, it was a very easy yes when we got the call from Ms. Hassett and her team. said, you bet. But we had one condition. We wanted the training to be all positive reinforcement, no force, fear, or intimidation for the detainees or the dogs.
So if we can.
Yeah, give me a second to move forward. My computer has just stopped and I have control. There we go.
So the program is a 12-week program, and in Colwell Probation Detention Center, because of the length of the sentence, it works well for the detainees. The dogs come from 2 nearby shelters, as Ms. Hassett mentioned, and the shelter staff are the ones who select the dogs. We're looking for dogs that need basic training, not major behavioral issues, because the program's length doesn't really lend itself well to that, and the detainees themselves are learning training techniques themselves. So we want to work primarily on teaching family manners to help these dogs become adopted. Some of these dogs have never lived inside of a house before, so they have some things to learn. We teach family manners, agility for fun. Some nose work is also taught. But as Lisa said, we were pretty adamant on using positive reinforcement training for so many reasons. It's not because we're just nice people, it's because it works better.
Yeah, it sticks longer, I think. And there's no, no stress or fear. And we're going to go into learning theory a little bit later, but none of us can learn when we're stressed, people or dogs. So we spend approximately 2 hours a week, 1 day a week with the detainees and dogs. We spend one of those hours with the detainees and the dogs doing hands-on training. And then we spend the extra hour just debriefing. We get back together and talk about what worked well, what didn't, what, tie in some things that happened with the dogs that may have happened in the detainees' lives. They have a lot of things in common relative to where they had come from and maybe not loved. So we just have a heart-to-heart talk. We talk about our own backgrounds and how things have affected us along the way. Training begins before the dogs even arrive. We do a dog body language presentation, and we do a presentation on how dogs learn. We want the detainees to understand a little bit of that so they can more likely understand the 4-legged sentient being in front of them.
What's interesting is that many of the detainees kind of, through the understanding learning theory, start to understand how they're really not that different than the dogs they're working with. They're both coming from broken past, perhaps, and it really helps develop some empathy for one another. We do work on the detainees' mechanical skills and training, leash handling, luring skills. We do use clicker training quite a bit with the positive reinforcement. So our goal is to help the dogs live peacefully in our weird human world. We're 2 different species, basically one of the most successful carnivorous creatures on the earth living peacefully in our human house is pretty remarkable when you think about it. And the bond that's developed between these 2 different species is just something that's I'll never get over. It's
and have you ever taken the time to think why we train our dogs? We really train our dogs to not do the things that are natural for them. They're typical species behaviors. Dogs in the wild, they dig, they bark, they bite, they jump, they chew, but yet we don't want them to do that.
3 minutes if you get off the phone.
So we don't want them to do that in our work.
Okay.
Somebody's not doing it.
Nobody.
That's your boyfriend?
No.
Sounded like a dude.
No. It's
Let me see
He's
if I
not
can
my
get back.
So with our training philosophy, we do use positive reinforcement. I hope that squared up some of the sound issues there.
Yeah, there was some odd going on.
So positive doesn't mean permissive, and positive doesn't always mean rainbows and sprinkles. Positive means something's added. So we're teaching without the use of force, fear, and intimidation. And this is so vitally important in this program because many of the detainees are there because in the past they might have used force, fear, or intimidation. And so now they're learning to understand that they can change the behavior of a dog or a person without that force, fear, of intimidation, but using positive reinforcement. Behaviors that get reinforced get repeated. So that's what we're trying to achieve here.
With both the dogs and the detainees.
So again, learning doesn't happen when somebody's stressed or fearful, as Lisa mentioned earlier. And our goal is to teach the dog what to do versus punishing unwanted behaviors.
And, you know, relative to training a dog, we have to meet the dog where they are. We can say, I wish my dog wouldn't do X, Y, or Z, but your dog is doing it. So we have to meet the dog there, accept them for who they are, and then put together a plan on how we're going to change that behavior. That's the exact same thing we do when we're teaching the detainees. We want to meet them where they are. We never ask. It's not our business to know why they're in there. They're clean and sober and, you know, wanting to be in this program, and we embrace every single bit of that.
So we do go into I'm not going to say quite a bit because we could spend the next 3 weeks talking about learning theory right here, but we do touch on it because we think it's important for people to understand why we do what we do and how we come about it. So we do talk about classical conditioning, which is learning by association. The dog gets a good or bad or neutral feeling about a certain situation. We all do it. You know, some people, if they hear a siren, they panic, or if they hear the bells of the ice cream truck, they get excited. That's classical conditioning. It's an emotional response. You have no control over it. So we want the dogs and detainees to feel safe so that learning can happen.
And again, we want a stress-free environment for the dogs and the detainees. So continue a little bit with learning theory. Operant conditioning. It's another way dogs learn. It's consequence-driven learning. And there are 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. We're not going to go into all of them right now. But you have to think when you're looking at this list, positive means something is added to the training equation. Negative means something is taken away. So with positive reinforcement, something is added, dog's behavior makes a good thing happen, and the likelihood of the behavior increasing is great. Negative reinforcement means something is taken away to reinforce behavior. That means dog's behavior makes a bad thing go away, behavior increases. Positive punishment, dog's behavior makes a bad thing happen, behavior decreases. And remember, positive means something is added to the training equation to decrease behavior. And negative punishment, dog's behavior makes a good thing go away, behavior decreases. The 2 points in the middle, they're in red, or like red means, no, we don't use those.
Don't need to go there. So here's a chart that sort of makes it, a little bit easier. As Lisa mentioned, positive simply means something is added. Negative means something is removed. Reinforcement is anything that causes a behavior to be more likely to happen in the future. And punishment is anything that makes a behavior more likely not to happen in the future. Some people say, well, I'm not reinforcing that counter surfing. Well, did you leave a sandwich on the counter? Because when the dog jumped up there, they got a sandwich, and that's pretty reinforcing.
Yeah, if the behavior stays constant or increasing, something is reinforcing it. It may not be you actively reinforcing it, but something in the environment is reinforcing it. Dogs and people, especially dogs, will always do what works for them, but really, especially people, we do that too. So we have to understand what's in it for the dog or what's in it for the detainee relative to behavior change.
And I do want to just quickly mention something about punishment. In learning theory, punishment is not retribution.
No.
Punishment is just anything that makes behavior less likely to happen again. If you touch a hot stove, that's going to hurt. You're probably not going to do it again, but the stove wasn't being mean or ugly. It was just hot. So, and I think about our detainees, they are being negatively punished. Their freedom was removed in an effort to diminish whatever behavior it was that landed them there in the first place.
Yeah. So we'll stop with learning theory. We could go on for a week here. Reinforcement, positive reinforcement is our philosophy. That is what we embrace in our life with working with people, in the jail dog program, working with dogs and people. The practical application of that is clicker training, which means we use the sound of a little box that has a piece of metal in it that clicks, and the sound of the click lets the dog know in that moment that the behavior is going to earn reinforcement. In essence, it becomes our communication tool with the dog. It bridges the gap between the time the behavior happens and the little piece of food, the reinforcer, hits the dog's mouth. It's always followed by a reinforcer, the sound of that click is, because it's a promise to the dog that they'll earn reinforcement. Dog sits, we mark it. As soon as the bottom hits the floor, we mark that with the clicker, and then we follow up with the reinforcer. Clicker training, also called marker training.
So the effects of positive reinforcement on detainees and dogs, the parallel between dogs' unfortunate experience and the detainees' experience, they're kind of really similar. But the unconditional love that the dogs provide these detainees, for us in the program, you know, the first 2-3 weeks, you might see some chips on shoulders, but you see that melting away pretty quickly when they realize here's something that they have responsibility for, who's not actually judging them. The detainees learn that they can change behavior without the use of force, fear, or intimidation. And more than once, we've heard a detainee say, you know, I could do this with my kids when I get out. This is going to be really, really cool. We do witness anger start to disappear and hope to start to appear. And again, the learning bleeds into their incarcerated life and further into their personal life when they get out on the other
it really is
side.
amazing. It's usually week 2 or 3 when they start to make the connection, because when they see us providing the example that if the dog isn't getting it right away, all we do is be patient and, you know, try another way of working with that dog to elicit the behavior, and they will start to gradually understand that. It's pretty amazing.
We do use positive reinforcement with the men as well, simply just acknowledging the fact that they did something awesome. And it's surprising, as was mentioned earlier, some of these guys have never been told, hey, that was great, you did an awesome job. They've never heard that sort of approval before, and it's pretty astounding.
I think in general, our whole world, everybody in this world needs more reinforcement of, man, you're doing a really great job.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is a quote from Dr. Susan Friedman. She's an amazing behaviorist. And it says, with positive reinforcement training, an animal will commonly exceed the criteria necessary for reinforcement, whereas negative reinforcement or punitive methods, the animal will comply only as much effort as required to remove that aversive stimulus. And this never came home more to me than Lisa mentioned. Her dad was a psychologist, studied positive reinforcement way back when. When she was in school, she got an A for, $5 for every A she got on her report
Now,
card.
that was a lot of money back in the 60s and 70s, guys.
My dad was in education, and it was made clear to me if I ever brought home a D, I was going to be grounded for a week. Well, guess who was the A student and who was the C student? As this quote says, she went above and beyond to earn reinforcement. I did only as much as necessary to avoid the unpleasant consequence. So positive reinforcement will get you that extra mile.
It absolutely positively will. And now I would like to turn it over to the man of the hour, Officer Philip Carter, who is absolutely amazing. He's got 2 distinct personalities that we've seen, and he will tell you more about his role in the program.
One of the only correctional officers I know that wears a clicker on his duty belt.
And I've seen him with 2 clickers. Clicker on each side of his belt.
There you go.
Yeah, not all. So thank you all so much.
Can everyone hear me? Okay. I'm the guy that takes the rescue detainees from point A to point B, making sure they're where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. And I'm going to be talking to you about their everyday life. Before I do that, you need to know something very important. I wasn't a part of the program at first because I was against it. I felt like, I don't want any dogs here. It's not a dog pound. This is a detention center. But change is what the rescue program is all about. And let me tell you, change is what I got too. Our facility is based on 3 strict rules: respect, self-control, and discipline. We drill these rules into their heads from day 1 until they are released. Dorm 5, the rescue dorm, has a 4th rule. It's called integrity, doing the right thing even when no one's watching. This is what we drill into their heads from the time they get into the program until the day they graduate. You see, you can lock someone up and make them pay for their crimes, but if you don't help them change the way they think and the way they act, they're going to get locked up again and again. It's all they know. So like the dogs, we're training them to do something different besides what they are used to. Dorm 5 gets up every morning at 4:30 a.m. They start their day by walking their dogs. As soon as they bring their dogs in, they start cleaning the crates and they feed and water the dogs. By the time they're done with all this, it's time to start cleaning the dorm for 9 a.m. inspection. After inspection, all the classes start that Mr. Wiley told you about. In between all this, there's count times, chow calls, dog walks, and dogs coming in to be bathed and groomed. And about the time all the other dorms are getting ready for bed, dorm 5 isn't. They're getting in a circle and they're talking about the best part of their day, the worst part of their day, and any problems that have come up. They learn to talk about their problems instead of handling it with violence. Before long, they start seeing changes in their dogs. A dog that was once terrified of people because it was abused, neglected, or forgotten is now loving life again, and it's loving people again. But even more amazing, they start seeing changes in themselves and each other. I mentioned earlier about my change. I want to tell you what started mine. There was a young man that worked second shift kitchen. He was aggravating, annoying. Every time he came to sign out for the kitchen, to be honest, I wanted to punch him in the face. Somehow he got in the rescue dorm. One day on the dog yard, he was sitting out by the big tree we have in the yard. He was holding his dog all by himself. He didn't know I was watching. I got a little closer. I could see tears coming down his face. I think at that moment he realized something, that no matter how bad he had been, all the crap he had done, that dog gave him unconditional love. I found out later that's the first time he'd ever had it. So I kept watching. A few moments later, he got up and wiped his face, and he started running around the dog yard with his dog. He was smiling. For the first time, he was trying. And he was changing. I realized something too. Detainees, inmates, probationers, whatever you want to call them, are people. People that have made bad choices and are paying for it. Are all going to change? No. But why not try, at least try, to change the ones we can? It's like Miss Haslett always says, if we do nothing, we can expect nothing. This program is working. It's proven by the numbers and it's proven by the faces on the family of every graduation we have. I've had family members come up to me and literally ask me, who is this person? I can't believe he has changed like this. That's what it's all about. I think I can explain it with a quick story. We had a detainee that graduated the rescue program. When he first got here on intake, he hated anyone with a badge or authority. He was a very, very angry man. But as he was being released, he yelled out the car window, "I love this program and I love y'all." To me, that's powerful words coming from a man being released from prison that hated anyone with a badge or authority. Graduations are awesome. And I would encourage you to follow us on the rescue page. And next time you see a graduation come up, give Miss Hassett a call, make plans to attend. It really is a miracle. And it's because we have such an amazing team. I'm so proud to be a very small part of it. And speaking of miracles, I'm going to pass the magic bone to a young man. He's a past graduate. When he got out, he got off probation 13 years early. And we are so very, very proud of him. The star of our presentation, Mr. David Protzman.
Thank you, Officer Carter. I guess the greatest gift of working with a dog is just what you receive from them, which is love. And that's something that you really need. You know, in the times, the lowest point in your life, you got something that's there for you and loving you for what you're doing for them. And it's a good feeling. It's given me personally a whole lot better outlook.
You're on.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is David Protzman. I want to start off by saying that y'all always put me on after something emotional. But I want to start off by saying that I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I'm a former inmate at the Colwell PDC. And it is I need to start over. Hi, everybody. My name is David Protzman. I want to start off by saying that I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I'm a former inmate at the Colwell PDC, and it is a pleasure and an honor to be speaking with you about this program today. I'll start with a little history of what brought me to Colwell PDC. At a young age, I guess about 14 years old, is when I started drinking. And that quickly turned into full-blown alcoholism. I guess I was an alcoholic at my first drink. That later turned into drug abuse, and with that always came run-ins with the law. And I guess before I was 24 years old, I had already gotten 3 DUIs and served time in quite a few different correctional facilities. And anyway, they just kept escalating and escalating. And then finally, on August 21st of 2014, I found myself in a high-speed chase, and I was approaching a roadblock with guns drawn, and I stopped, and I had warrants for my arrest, and that was the beginning of my surrender. And I can say this was the lowest point in my life. I just felt like my life was shattered, my life was broken, and I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea how how am I going to fix this? What am I going to do? I don't know. I knew I wanted to change and I knew I wanted to be better, but I didn't have the tools and I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't know how to do that. So after sitting in county jail for 11 months, I finally got a trial and I was sentenced to 6 months in Colwell PDC. And I can say that is the best thing that could have happened to me. I was brought into Colwell and got off that bus, went through the whole intake, what do they call it, and was assigned a dorm. And I was put in there and then assigned to a work detail. Well, I noticed in one of the other dorms, man, they had dogs in there. And I was thinking, what are the dogs in jail? What's going on in this detail, this room over here? And I'd heard it's called the rescue program. And so I would always sneak a peek in there on my way to lunch or whatever, you know, and I don't know why this happened. But one day, an officer approached me and called me by name. Protzman, are you interested in that dog program? I don't know how he knew my name. Not that I wasn't wearing a badge with it on it. And this was Officer Carter. And I was like, sir, yes, sir, because that's what you said. Sir, yes, sir. I am interested in the dog program. They said, well, you ought to, you know, apply for it. We've got another group coming up. And if you're interested in it, I'll get you the paperwork. You can fill it out, go through the intake process of that. And I thought, well, you know, man, I'm sure I'm going to like these dogs more than I'm going to like my bunkmate. So why not? Let's do this. So I wrote out my little essay on why I thought I should be eligible for the program. And I was given an itinerary of what was going on in the program. And I didn't really understand it, but I prayed about it. And I thought, if that's where I'm supposed to be, then that's where I'll be. Sorry, it's very emotional for me just thinking back through the whole thing. So anyway, I applied and I had my interview with Officer Carter and Diane Hassett. Anyway, I was accepted into the program. So I'm looking over the, itinerary because I'm getting ready to go in, and I said, okay, we're going to be doing some dog grooming. Dog grooming. So we're going to be cutting the dog's hair. We're going to be trimming nails. We're going to be brushing their teeth. We're going to be bathing them. We've got Colwell College coming in, and they are clicker training. I don't know what that is, but we're going to be teaching our dogs how to behave, sit and stay, and walk them on a leash and all this stuff. And I'm going to learn about the anatomy of a dog and dog CPR. And I'm thinking, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but I'm okay with it. I'm glad I'm here. So I got into the dorm, and I had been there, I don't know, I guess it was a couple of weeks, and we'd had a few courses with this, with a couple of the dogs that were left from the last group that was there prior to our new group that had gotten in, which is me and 11 other men. And so we were learning these things, learning something about grooming, mostly about training and how to teach us. Brad and Lisa were telling you about, how to teach your dogs to behave and what good behaviors are and bad behaviors are and all that. And then the day came. The dogs were here. And we were taken out into the yard, and the bus pulls up, and here comes these dogs. And these dogs, they're bringing the dogs off one at a time. This one's coming off, and just through what we had already learned, I can see this one needs nails done. He needs a haircut. That one's got an attitude. That one talks too much. He's just barking all the time. And then I looked around at the guys that were in my dorm, and I looked at myself, and I was like, they're just like us. So we picked our dogs, and we got them back into the dorm room. And and so we started our training with them, and the more I trained this dog, the more I learned that I was the one that was being trained, because I was learning my good behaviors and I was learning my bad behaviors, and I saw that you got good things when you did good things, and it was just an eye-opening experience for me. And so with that, you know, we got 11 guys in the dorm, all from all different walks of life. And there's some clashing going on. But thankfully, we had an anger management class. We had problem solving through spirituality. And we were able to work through our problems together because we were learning skills on how to communicate with each other without fighting, without arguing. I remember one day we were having something going on in the dorm. Anyway, there was some friction going on, and it was obvious. And we took all our chairs and we put them in a circle in the middle of the dorm, and we had a meeting. And we were sitting there and we were just hashing it out. We were discussing it. And I remember Officer Carter walked by and he saw us sitting in that circle, and he looked in the window and he opened up the door and he was like, "Guys, everything all right?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, we're just having a meeting." And he walked out, and I could see the pride in his eyes that we had learned something. We were hashing it out. We were doing this thing. Also, and something else some other things that we learned, some personal finance skills. Someone coming in, like I said, he comes in from the bank. He teaches us how to do our finances. Simple things that you would think that you know. But you know what? Not everybody knows. You don't know how to balance a checkbook or open up an account. Very important things that you have to have in life. How to manage your money. Business management. You know, we had a class where we just learned to write a resume. And we wrote that resume. What are your skills? What do you know how to do? Let's make something out of this. We made a resume, and then that was put on a file for us so that later we could actually access this when we got out, when we got home, and we could use it. I'm going to tell you right now, the job that I have today, I got from that resume. I can honestly say that had it not been for this program, I would not be where I am today. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, telling you my life story. People, if anybody ever asked me anything before, you know, hey, what do you think about this? Should I do this? Should I do that? I could tell you what you shouldn't do, but I had no idea I could never tell you what to do because I had already done what you shouldn't do. But today I'm doing what I can do. And one huge thing that I learned from there, they pound into your head, is integrity. Like everybody's told you, doing the right thing even when no one else is looking. And if you just do that every day, it's so simple. It's so simple. Sometimes you just need to hear that and keep that in your mind because they're going to tell you 20 times a day, you're going to learn what integrity is. And it sticks. It sticks. I'm just a blue collar worker. I do construction. And I was out at a job site one day, and I was getting ready to leave, and these guys are putting up sheetrock, and there's sheetrock screws all over the floor, and it's, you know, it's 2 inches thick, sheetrock dust and everything. And I was like, man, I need a few of those to take home. So I reached down, I scooped up a handful, put them in my pocket, and I went home. Got home that night, took a shower, got up the next day, was getting my wallet and everything out of my pockets, and I reached in my pocket and I felt those screws in there. Took them out, I looked at them, put them back in my pocket. Got back to that job site that next day, and I took them out of my pocket and I threw them on the floor like Diane Hassett was watching me because I knew those screws didn't belong to me. Nobody would have cared, but I cared because I did the wrong thing. I didn't ask anybody, but anyway, it's just little things like that that stick with you. I don't know, my life today is good. Like I said, I have a job. About a year after getting out, I was fortunate enough to be able to move into my parents', but you know, I got my own place. And just a quick story about that. It was my first place. It paid the deposit, paying the rent, paying the bills, and it was Thursday night, and they were picking up trash Friday morning. And I had my trash in my little roller garbage can, and I was rolling it out to the curb, and it was raining. And it was a little cold, and I was getting wet. And I got that thing down to the street, and I stopped, and I looked at it, and I was so thankful because I paid my bill, so somebody was coming to my house, and they were going to pick up my trash because I had been responsible, and inside that can was my trash. And that was just the greatest moment for me that I'll never forget. And anyway, I'm very appreciative for everything that I learned and all the skills that I got from the rescue program. It has changed my life. Today, I'm a homeowner, I'm engaged, and life is good, and it just continues to get better. I can't thank everybody enough for everything that they taught me, everything that I learned. And I think about this place all the time, and I'm just very glad to be here today. And thank you very much for listening to just one guy's experience with the program and how it has changed my life. Thank you. Who gets the phone now?
We're good.
Okay, Emily, we're ready for you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
All right, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. We want to thank the Colwell Detention Center and the Cold Nose College folks for being here with us, and thank you, Philip, for sharing your story. Thank you, Counselor Wiley, for being with us. Thank you to oh, it was David. I'm sorry. Thank you, Officer Carter. Thank you, David Protzman, and thank you, Leonda. Does anyone have any questions? We have about 5 minutes for questions, and we also have an evaluation form in the chat to fill out. Does anybody have any questions? What a great group, huh? All right. It doesn't look like we have any questions. Oh,
What about cats?
hello, Teresa. Teresa's a huge cat lover. She's a huge cat lover.
I have a cat, and I trim its nails, and I learned that here. That's a fact.
That's great. So with training questions, you can find, okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Wagners. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here today. Again, there's an evaluation form in the chat box. If you don't mind, please complete that. And you guys, thank you so much, and keep up the great work, David. It was really great. This was fantastic. Thank you for everything. We'll come to a graduation, I promise. Did you want to say something? Superintendent Hassett, did you want to say anything to close us out?
Thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate it, and we will definitely be in contact for a future graduation.
Super. Yay. Thank you. All right, y'all.
Thanks all.
Happy ARAD.
Hey, hey.
Hey, Lisa.
That was great.